Another crazy day of patches, but this one is even bigger, guys. This nerfs every single class, starting right off with off the bat, all of the glyphs bonus scaling has been cut by 34%, and some are cut by 66%. It's insane how many nerfs are in this patch. So bear with me, guys. It's going to be a uncomfortable patch, but I think we're going to have to build some even stronger builds because of this. So starting right off, this patch is now live. It came out like super late. It's basically the next day. It's basically on the 4th here for most people, but nonetheless, here are the changes. So starting right off, they nerfed all of the top builds pretty much. So Barbarian, skill changes, challenging shout, damage reduction gained from skill ranks reduced from 4% to 2%. This is a pretty massive change because a lot of people will put multiple points into it, so obviously it's going to be a lot less effective. And then on top of that, the legendary aspects, the Bold Chieftain's aspect, the cooldown reduction per nearby enemy reduced from 2.4 to 5.4 to 1 to 1.9. That's a massive nerf. And the maximum cooldown is reduction from 12 to 6 seconds. So that's cut in half. And then this over here is cut more than in half. That's a massive, massive nerf to Barbarian right there. And then aspect of the Dire Whirlwind. This got destroyed too. Look at this. Increased critical strike chance per second reduced from 5 to 10% to 3 to 8. So this one doesn't seem that bad, but this is massive. The maximum critical strike chance bonus reduced from 20 to 40 to 9 to 24. So this is cut in half, and this is obviously nerfed by a bit as well. So it's a massive extra nerf to Barbarian on top of all of these other nerfs. And if you guys didn't know, recently Barbarian also got a nerf where the cooldown reduction doesn't roll on your gear anymore for your shout. So that's another nerf on top of all these. So yeah, Barbarians are looking a little bit weak now with this brand new update. And then on top of that, they already updated Gores, but hold on. It's actually not that bad because, I mean, let's read it first. So if you guys don't know what these are gloves where if you channel Whirlwind, it's going to start stacking insane amounts of damage. And that's where the clip that I showed recently of a level 110 Butcher getting legitimately one-shotted. Okay, so this makes it so the explosion damage gain was reduced from 50 to 70 to 16 to 26. Now, that's a pretty big change. However, the damage against wreckable objects no longer increases the explosion damage. So you can't just hit random things. I guess this was just helping it ramp up faster. But the explosion damage is only increased by the first 100 hits of Whirlwind. That's really not that bad. Though I thought this was going to get destroyed even harder, but it's on top of all these other nerfs. Maybe it actually adds up to be quite bad. But at the same time, you're able to hit for 100 hits in one, you're going to have to channel it for a while, but at the same time, it's overall a massive nerf, but it still has kind of the core identity. If anyone has these, let me know down below. Are you still able to one-shot bosses with the newer updates to the Gore's Devastating Grips unique item? And then, so here are the changes with Druid. So they buffed some skills. I know this whole video is basically nerfs. However, they buffed some other skills that no one's really using. So, Pulverize, lucky hit chance reduced. So it's basically the Pulverize the Bear form where that got a massive amount of nerfs here. So the Lightning Storm, the damage got increased. So there's a buff there. Grizzly Rage actually got a buff, surprisingly. I thought that was okay already, at least via the review copy that we had of the game. Then the class specialization, the Obsidian Slam, the kills required for the bonus increased from 10 to 20. And then the Calm Before the Storm, the lucky hit chance is reduced from 15 to 10, so that's going to be changed. And then the passive changes to Electric Shock. The bonus damage is increased, so that's a buff, actually. Legendary Aspect, the Shockwave, damage reduced from 90 to 130 to 60 to 100, so that's actually a pretty big change over there. It's like a 30% damage reduction. This, obviously matters as well. That's kind of one of the bigger changes. Again, it's like Pulverized Druid is kind of what most people have been playing. Next up, though, the Crash Stone aspect. The critical strike damage reduction, or critical strike damage reduced from 40 to 50 to 30 to 40. And then Lightning Dancer's aspect, flat damage increased from 0.5 0.6 to 0.7 to 0.8. Okay. And then Necromancer actually getting some buffs here. So Bloodlance, the damage got increased, but I don't know if people want to use that skill. The Army of the Dead, the damage got increased and the cooldown got reduced. I think this is a very nice change. It's specifically great against bosses. I think that this is nice. Bloodwave, the damage got increased. The passive changes, so Shadow Blight got 2% damage increase. I don't know if people will want to use that. I still think the little Blood Nova thing that you have, and Bone Spear are going to be the most popular. Grim Harvest, this actually got a nerf, so that was being able to gain that extra essence. And then Serration, the critical strike chance reduced from 0.5 to 1 to 1.5 to 0.3, 0.6, and 0.9. So that's a nerf over there. And then the Death's Defense, so maximum minion life lost in a single damage instance, reduced from 75, 60, 45 to 60, 45 to 30. So I guess the maximum amount that they could lose would be 30. I think that this, it sounds weird, but I want to say that this would be a buff. So the maximum amount of life that they can lose is actually only 30% versus 45. So if I'm reading it correct, that should be a buff. Anyways, Ray Skeleton, they get 10% more damage. Actually, a buff for Summoner Necros. I think they need better defenses. The way it works is it regens, and I think it needs to just be an instant. Golem, the Golem attack damage is increased by 10%, so another buff. Blood Golem, life drain damage increased. That's a massive amount of a buff. And then on top of that, the healing got buffed by, that's a 20% numerical buff, so 4 to 5%. Iron Golem, increased damage. The Iron Golem Shockwave, so more damage on that. The Necromancer Paragon board changes. The Hulking Monstrosity Golem life and damage bonus increased, so another 10% there. Cult Leader, the damage bonus increased from 10 to 15, so Necromancer got buffed. Now, here's the class that we're playing right now. At the start, the Rogue Twisting Blades is gonna hurt for a little bit. So it's Advanced Twisting Blades cooldown reduction per enemy hit reduced from 0.25 to 0.1. Now, obviously, Twisting Blades hits multiple times, so if there's enough density, and if you're playing the build that I'm going to be dropping some a build guide on, it won't really matter too much in the very large groups, because you basically get to pull everything together, and then it hits everything. Yeah, at the end of the day, yeah, is it still a nerf? Yes. But if you get some cooldown reduction, it really isn't going to destroy the build that much. It's still very viable, and still probably one of the best rogue builds. But Advanced Twisting Blades maximum cooldown, this is what actually kind of hurts as well. The cooldown reduction, the maximum amount, it used to be 3 seconds, and now it's 2 seconds. It still reduces everything, though, versus, like, Measurements if you play Diablo 3, which is, like, one random skill. So I still think it's good, or if you play with, like, Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac, because it reduces all the cooldown. There's going to be other ways that you can, I think, overcome this, nerf over here. You get some extra cooldown reduction on your other pieces of gear, and you won't really notice too much of a difference. But this is more towards, like, endgame. So in terms of your progression for any, like, one that's following any build guide for Twisting Blades, it will eventually become much better once you, again, just get some cooldown reduction. I'd say as long as you get at least like 10% cooldown reduction on most of your abilities, this won't really matter that much. But again, you're gonna have to be further along in the game to get like trap cooldown reduction if you're playing the trap build that a lot of people are playing, which I'm playing myself. Yeah, this is still a nerf at the end of the day, but I think it's viable. Rapid fire got increased. I don't really see anyone playing ranged rogues for the most part. Up until I think you get Wind Force, it might not be the greatest option to be playing ranged, but nonetheless. Dark Shroud, this got actually a nerf, but it's fine because I prefer Shadow Strike once they fix the bug. And as far as I'm aware of the bug, I just literally tested it. It still has the bug where you activate it and it doesn't teleport you, and you hold in place and it says no target found, which is very painful. But Dark Shroud, the damage reduction per shadow gain from skill ranks is reduced from 0.8 to 0.4. So this is actually a pretty big nerf for anyone that was going to stack up insane amounts of damage reduction. It's okay because the build that I'm playing is going to be maxing out on poison for the damage reduction anyways, but it still is a pretty big nerf for maybe some bosses, because I did like it for bosses that would hit really hard. But again, this is per rank, so the flat shadow Dark Shroud is still not that bad at all, because a lot of people just put 1 point into it anyways. But later on, when you get like your Shaco and all these other things that'll give you plus to all skills, or like ranks in a certain division, yeah, this would be obviously not as good. So Dash, the enhanced Dash critical strike damage bonus got decreased from 20 to 15, so you get a 15 crit multi versus 20. It's playable, it's fine. Caltrops got increase of damage, but I have not even seen one person play it. In fact, I was talking about, let's try out the build. I tried to make Caltrops. It's really rough because the way the animation works, it's just too long. If they made it an instant, it would be much better, because your character has to like jump back. And it's just the way that it works. And then the passive change Concussive, this actually is kind of unfortunate for any of the knockdown trap builds, which is kind of what I was playing. It's a small nerf overall, 3% less crit. I can live with it. It's not that big of a deal. And then the legendary affix change repeating, so the maximum minion life lost in a single damage instance reduced. Okay, I'm not sure why this is listed right here is for Rogue, because this is probably supposed to be for the Necromancer. Anyways, Next up, this is on the official News Blizzard like post over here. Anyways, next up, Sorcerer, the skill changes, Arc Lash. The lucky hit got reduced on Arc Lash, got cut in basically half. And then Glinting Arc Lash cooldown reduction reduced from 0.25 to 0.15. Then teleport, shimmering teleports, damage reduction reduced. You know what I find really strange with this? You know, I'll give you guys my thoughts on this towards the end, because like it's in the middle of a race. Like we have this race to 100, and they just like throw down all of these nerfs. It just feels very strange. But like I said, I'll talk about it in a second. Legendary affix, aspect of control, bonus damage reduced from 30 to 40 to now 25 to 35. Okay, so that would be a nerf. So. The bonus, yeah, that would be a nerf. But yeah, this is probably a pretty big nerf too. It's like half the duration on the teleport. And then miscellaneous class changes, Druids, Companions, and Necromancers means maximum damage over time taken per damage instance reduced from 2% to 1% of maximum life. Yeah, it's kind of very strange wording. Is that a buff or a nerf? Anyways, Paragon board changes. So all of the... Okay, this is a pretty big change because I originally had a Paragon board, and one of the reasons why I haven't been sharing Paragon boards is because a lot of the stuff I noticed in-game was different than what was showing in the test, as well as in what was data mined and all that stuff. So this is one of the biggest changes. If you get like Leranas on Rogue, that originally had like 20% attack speed in the very beginning, and I was like, dude, this is massive. That's almost like 20% more multi, right? Especially because of the way that Rogue works with its like cooldown reduction. This actually got cut in half. So all of the attack speed nodes are cut in half. And then all the glyphs, this is for all characters, by the way, all glyphs got reduced by 34%, except for the following. And I was like, okay, which ones are the good ones now? No, it made it worse. So the critical strike got reduced by 66%. You destroyed that one. Like 66% nerf on top of a 34% like global on everything. That's crazy. And then vulnerable glyphs reduced by 66%. The bonus to the rare nodes cut in half. The bonus to magic nodes were reduced by 40%, and then bonuses to cold, fire, lightning, non-physical got reduced by 60%. Like, this is a major nerf. Remember, guys, they recently also buffed all of the monsters' HP. This was in a patch note that I mentioned. I think it was like yesterday, the day before. They buffed all the monsters, and then on top of all of these nerfs and all of the glyph nerfs, this is insane. Again, the game hasn't even came out. We are in the middle of like a race too, which is crazy. And then they reduced the rate of treasure goblins in PvP zones. Now, what I find interesting, and I don't know if your guys' results are the same. Like, I'm playing pretty much on World Tier 3 right now, and the treasure goblins don't always drop it like a really good thing. It's like, okay, maybe get a legendary like here and there, but it's not like a consistent, like in the, beta, the very first one, not the service line, but the beta, like when I was killing the treasure goblins, it was like really nice. It was like guaranteed almost every single one was dropping legendary. Now, like even at World Tier 3, one legendary is not that big of a deal. If the goblins were dropping guaranteed at least like a sacred or at least a unique, then I'd be like, okay, I can understand why they're reducing the spawn rate. But it doesn't really matter to get these treasure goblins. I feel like treasure goblins in general feel very underwhelming already, but I'd love to know your guys' thoughts on it. Maybe I'm just getting bad luck, but I think I've heard a lot of people say treasure goblins. Like I skip them out now because like they just don't drop anything, right? And so they fixed the name, and then they fixed the shot button from the wardrobe gets displayed. Fixed an issue with the sorcerers using deep freeze affected by another effect that would wait. You can freeze, get frozen while using deep freeze, and then so that's what's causing the permanent stun. This is actually funny because I saw some I think it was some sort of clip where someone was playing in hardcore and they got permanently frozen. So they fixed some stability issues. All right, so really quick, I briefly want to talk about this, and I'm curious to know your guys' thoughts. The game isn't even out for most players, and some players got these insane things. They uploaded videos of their builds and stuff, and like as a content creator, and I got access to the game as a partner, and like I'm dropping build guides and showing you guys how to do things, and then everything gets nerfed before the game comes out. It feels very awkward, and at the end of the day, I don't think I'm okay with these buffs though. Like I would have been totally fine because they're like, okay, some stuff is underperforming. No one is playing ranged rogue for the most part. As far as any like good content creators and streamers, I don't know of anyone playing a ranged rogue. So it's good that they're buffing this, but I think nerfs, especially in the survivability department when there's again hardcore race going on, it just feels like it didn't come at the right time. Maybe season 1 would have been fine. I would have been fine with all these nerfs day 1. like the first day the game came out, because I was really interested in playing Twisting Blades. There was a lot of people interested in playing like Whirlwind Barb. They saw all like the gameplay coming out. Oh man, I cannot wait to build that Whirlwind Barb. And now your shouts are destroyed, your cooldown is destroyed, your skill ranks, so you're going to be taking way more damage. You lost out on, legitimately, this was one of the best items in the entire game. If you've played like Path of Exile, imagine them. Do you remember what happened when they announced like the changes to Headhunter? I remember people were super upset. Like, some of the best items in the game, let these be super insanely powerful, especially during like the very first season. In the middle, for someone to get an item to be like, oh my gosh, I finally got the item, and then they removed it. Then like, what is it, the second or third day, and then the fourth day, now it comes back, and it like now it has a cap, and now it's like, oh, got all these limits. I just feel like the buffs are okay though. Make these awesome changes with the buffs, especially because, you know, some people are playing something and it feels super underwhelming. I think Necromancer's minions could take maybe a little bit less damage, but at the end of the day, they are buffing things, and I think that is good, but it's overall, this is a massive nerf. Again, the biggest changes, remember guys, everyone is losing out on your glyphs by 34%. Like a third of your like glyph bonus scaling is just cut by a huge amount, and then some of them, like the crit, and like most people will get crit, that's cut by 66% on the like end game sort of thing. I don't know. How do you guys feel about this? Let me know if you think they should have waited for season 1, or do you guys think this is totally fine? Genuinely curious, because I just don't think it was a right move. At least season 1, or they should have made this whole patch before it came out. Anyways, that's my thoughts. You guys can let me know yours down below. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it, subscribe if you're new so you don't miss out. If any other things get nerfed, I will definitely be covering. But take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.